Yep, hi everyone. Thanks for that introduction, Campbell. Yep, look, I'm passionate about Australia. I love Australia. I love our heritage, and I'm Indigenous. My mum was a shearer's cook, and my dad was a shearer, and we've travelled right throughout Australia and settled in the great place of Queensland. And what I see happening in rural and regional Queensland now is that the morale is down across a lot of different sectors. The morale, we're not proud as we used to be. The level of volunteerism is down. P&Cs aren't have enough people. The Rural Fire Brigade. Bureaucracy of government is killing us. We are drowning under the burden of red tape bureaucrats. Now, tonight is all about red tape. Tonight is all about what the government is doing to divide us as a nation, when we have a history of being united as a country. Now, I've been speaking up. My role as a chair of Property Rights Australia, one of our fundamental principles, the thing that we were based on, is that everyone should have the exclusive access and use and the opportunity to make a profit off their land. Dare I say it. And it is the fundamental protection of that right for what should be a prosperous society. And we're seeing that under risk now. And we can say native title or things under the transfers under the Aboriginal Land Act. People saying, well, it's not going to affect me. It won't affect me because it doesn't affect freehold land. But what happens if you had a nice park next door you can't go to anymore? Or you used to go through the esplanade and walk down the beach, you can't do that anymore. What happens then? What happens if you used to go and run horses on a reserve? Or go down to your favourite fishing spot? Or drive along the beach? Australia should be for all Australians. What we are seeing from these governments, the state government, is a lack of respect for people's property rights. They don't respect that. Whether it's the reckless rollout of renewables, and I can talk all night about that, or not talking to communities, not consulting with the communities in this transfer of state government land to Aboriginal freehold. These two fellas here, they only found out by accident. There wasn't a transparent consultation process to the people that were going to be directly affected. So how's that? How ridiculous. If we're talking about going together as one and looking at reconciliation, this is the worst way to do it. This is how to divide us. When you're not even talking to the people it's going to directly affect, if it's going to lock Australians out, because we're outdoor people, aren't we? Yes. We love the outdoors. We love climbing mountains. We love going down to the beach. We love going to our favourite fishing spot. If they're going to lock us out of those places, what's that going to do to us as a community? It will divide us. And that is what they want us to do. It's like a recipe that they've come up with from somewhere. How to divide a community and get one fighting with another. That is what is happening now. So look, I won't talk too much. I want to call on Michael Offerdale to come up, and he's the publican of the Tubia pub, to tell his story. No, you go.
Oh. Hey everyone, how's it going? So yeah, basically in Tubi, what's happened to us is we sort of found out by chance what was happening there when we're trying to buy a little bit of state land next to some land we had, and we sort of were told by resources that there was no, don't apply, is what they said. And we sort of, could we ask why? And I said, I can't tell you. So obviously that's when we knew something funny was going on. So we followed the process through from there. We basically got to a point where we were told in January this year that we were losing like 95% of our town, which is what this camping reserve comprises. Sorry, I'm not great with microphones. Is that better? Yeah, so anyway, this camping reserve is like part of our town. So our town doesn't have sewage, we can't drink the water. We don't have like a park or anything. It's just a handful of houses that were built on a sort of railway town as they were sort of expanding the railway line to Dirranbandi. So all of that sort of told, I think that sort of paints the picture of where we are. So basically they've dumped these minutes out, and then we've sort of gone, oh, shit, this doesn't look real good. And we've sort of gone into the council and said, Mr. Springborn, what's going on here? Like, can you help us out, man? You're a pretty sort of famous kind of dude, you've done a fair bit of stuff. Anyway, he sort of said, oh, mate, we've done the best we can here. Like, I think his words were, we had no horses to trade, but we've turned up with a horse. We've got you this little bit of freehold land here. And they just basically gave us another street, which is sort of pointless when you don't have sewage or water for the existing streets anyway. So it was just to sort of meet the criteria to make Aboriginal freehold accessible, is sort of what that's all about. Anyway, so we rang the resources department and had a bit of a chat with this lady. Had to, a few conversations with her and wear her down a little bit. And she basically said, I put her in my position. I said, imagine you lived in a little town like mine, and that's all you had in the world, all your family had, that was everything you had was there. And then someone just came and said, we're going to change all that. We're going to lock you out of this creek. You're not going to be able to go fishing there. You can't swim there. You can't take your kids there. The 120 years of history that we have with that piece of land is just gone. And for no recourse and no benefit. In our instance, this the Aboriginal Corporation doesn't actually even live in the area, so they come from Brisbane. Sure, but I know it's a bloody strange one. So that's the Bigable Corporation. It's the actual native people area, the Gamilaroi, and Tubi means to point in Gamilaroi. So it sort of, I don't know how they missed all that, but anyway. So the Gamilaroi are obviously quite left out of this as much as we are, because this corporation that obviously is really good at doing Aboriginal corporation stuff's managed to take all this land. So they're actually trying to take St. George now as well, parts of that. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So we're pretty lucky in our circumstance though, because they've done such a dodgy job of it all. It's quite clear and obvious the process that they've gone through. What we're obviously struggling with is in our sort of circumstance, our mayor's pretty, he's up there, he's the president of Queensland LNP. Like he should have he should have enough pull that he could be able to, guys, you reckon we can make a little bit of a commitment to some legislative amendments here? He won't do it though, he won't even bloody talk to us. Oh, well. And you keep going, I actually like hearing this stuff. So basically, just to fill you in a bit more there with that LNP process of all of this is, we went to our state member, which is James Lister, so he's a member for Southern Downs, we're known as, and I said, James, man, this is pretty bad here. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just a publican from Tubi, expelled from school. I'm not like really up on this stuff. Oh, sorry guys. Well, you're in, you've got to listen to the story now, so enjoy this. Anyway, I said to him, James, I really need some help here, mate. I reckon this is sort of your job. I've asked Lawrence and the council, they don't want to help us. Can you help me, mate? He actually gave me one of the most inspirational speeches that I've been given. It was terrific. He said, I should say it, it's pretty bad. Righto. He said, Michael, I only fight fights I can win, and I can't win this one. Whoa. So obviously I thought I was in a little bit of trouble at that point, so we went forward from there, and we started obviously hassling everyone, and we're thankful enough to get Jim and Campbell and others to come and give us a hand. And we got that question on notice through Jim, which was really cool, so we found out there's 15 towns that are under the same threat as us already. The Courier Mail put in a freedom of information request for the 15 towns, and they were denied the answer, obviously. So, that's how we found the Fraser Island guys. He's pretty cool. They're in the same circumstance as us, so you'll hear from that in a minute. I probably shouldn't jump into all of that too much. Yeah, it's basically where we are. So, LNP president trying to deliver treaty. What's going on there? He said in October you don't support treaty. Like, where are we? And we don't seem to be able to really get anyone to call him out or call that situation out. Yeah, it's really, really strange, and it's obviously why we're here, asking for everyone to give us a bit of a bloody hand, eh? So yeah, not much else I can say there.
Thank you. This is working nicely. My only claim to fame really is that I live on a little island called Fraser and in a township called Huron. I'd like to begin by just asking you all something, if you wouldn't mind. I've got 2 parcels of land. I can always shout. I've got 2 parcels of land.
Better.
Adding up to about 500 hectares.
That's not enough. Keep going.
The land is adjacent to a national park. Each block is adjacent to a township that has a shop, fuel, restaurant. I'm in a position to offer you, free of charge, those blocks of land, no strings attached. What I need from you is to say, would you be interested? Yes or no? Well, why not? Now, the question then comes down to, where's the land? The land is on World Heritage listed Fraser Island, with some other name now. The towns are Happy Valley and Huron. Who's asking? I am the Queensland Government's Department of Resources, and I no longer want to take responsibility for those blocks of land. I am the Department of Resources, yet ironically I have no human resources, I have no financial resources to care for that land, therefore I'm giving it away. Help?
Andrew.
Right
What?
side.
Right side? Oh, there we go. In 1962, the townships of Happy Valley and Huron were surveyed and set up as township reserves. They should have been reserves. Happy Valley, Reserve 14.
Put your microphone up.
Queensland, Huron, Reserve 15. That was in 1961, 62, when the land was released. The township reserve for Huron, which I can talk about with a bit more authority than I can for Happy Valley, is represented by that strange shape. That's the total township reserve as it was, and it appears on all maps in Queensland for the last, I don't know, as long as it's been there, 60 years. In the little pocket up top right-hand corner is the actual settlement itself. Last year, despite the fact that we had requested a small portion of the total area of USL that surrounds the township, or the settlement area, despite the fact that we asked for 2% of the total of 270 hectares of USL in and around Huron, we got diddly squat. We asked for that block there, lots 46, and that lot there, 60, which lies between the 2 towns. This area here is the Huron Resort. This is what we call the Residential Valley, also a couple of residents or properties over the other side. We asked for that. We asked for a small piece of land at the end of Buffy Street, just for future community purposes and infrastructure. Without any consultation any further than that, they just suddenly told us that the land had been transferred, that now and that there is Aboriginal freehold. It's happened. It's not something that's going to happen. It's actually happened. It happened despite the fact that we had asked for that. It sounds like a reasonable sort of thing. We didn't want all the other land around the... Go back to it again? No, I can't go back. We weren't worried about all the rest of that land, the USL. We wanted 2%. So far, we've got nothing. They've got that 2 blocks that we asked for. What could have been? In the 70s, the Land Administration Commission, as it was then, requested the surveyors to set up an extension of the Yurong Township. And this is off the legend. I'll copy that. Now, I do apologise for the quality of the reproduction. That's another story. But if you can't see it, you might look hard enough, you'll see that there are 255 extra lots that they've mapped. That just shows you... Well, I'll go back again. That's the township as it is now, and that's the extension plan. Of course, that didn't happen. It was just reverted back to being USL, and that's when there was a Maryborough City Council looking after Yurong, and a Harvey Bay City Council looking after Happy Valley. Once the amalgamation happened to the Fraser Coast Council, that was no longer anywhere near the agenda. 2 weeks ago, we had an information day, that's all I call it. It was an information meeting with the 2 communities, with the Butchulla Aboriginal Corporation and the department, and they just presented us with that map. This is how we've evaluated the USL in and around Yurong. The blue area, which is the blue, that's where the Great Walk goes through from the Resort Valley into the National Park. They haven't yet surveyed that, that's why it's wiggly lines. They haven't worked out exactly what shape it's going to take, how much land it's going to need. The pale yellow in 2 spots, at this end here, and that end there, there's a tiny one there, so I'm taking like a leaf here. That is contaminated land. That's where there was some illegal dumping. People in Yurong dumped stuff there, and people coming off the island, all over the island, dumped stuff on the open dunes. It was quite a mess, disgusting. It happened, and that land is contaminated. It's going to be USL, stays USL as contaminated land. It can't be dealt with at all, can't be sold or let out. The green, in a couple of sections, I can't quickly, that green follows the dingo fence of that first part. The dingo fence around the community, not to protect the people from the dingoes, but to protect the dingoes from the people, but that's another story. We now have, well, we'll have the privilege of being able to walk from our houses to the dingo fence. We can walk down the esplanade to the beach. We can walk up 1 road, 2 roads, or the Great Walk into the National Park. Or we can hop in our cars and drive to the National Park. That green bit up there is another piece of conservation reservation, but that's going to be, the tenure is going to be for cultural purposes, and the tenure is with the Butchulla Aboriginal Corporation. The purple area here is actually a QPWS camping ground called Wongai, and that is going to be handed over, the tenure that will be handed over to the BAC. Still will be a camping ground, but they'll be able to collect the dollars. So if you get a camping permit from the Department of National Parks to go to the island and camp, you won't be able to park in, your permit won't allow you to camp in that area. You'll have to go and pay Aboriginal landholders. Next to contaminated land, yep. Good stuff. They're doing that already, so people didn't know that before, so it's all covered over with sand and vegetation. It's what we can't any longer access. In those two plots of land between the two valleys is bushland, and in that bushland is a magic tree, fig tree, that has grown up, and this branch here actually links up, and another tree has grown up out of it, and the other one's over the other side as well. So it's a collection of trees coming from a mother tree. But the good thing is, children love that tree. You can see in the background there's a tyre spring still there. Now I have to confess that on the weekend I took my grandchildren and my great-grandchild over to the land that belongs to the Aboriginal people. I ignored the sign that says trespassers will be speared. And I was also a little bit concerned about the amount of weeds that have grown up in the 12 months. You might see a bit of cassia here. There's a little bit of, I think that's Brazilian nightshade. There's also wonderful stuff in there. All weeds, despite the fact that that was my job, self-appointed job, was to weed that area before it became Aboriginal freehold. I haven't touched it since. I'm not going to go on their land, apart from sneaking on like that. And that's how flexible those branches are. That swings, literally swings from that bit down the bottom. Oh, there we go. Oh, try again. If you're sitting there, that actually swings back and forth. And these other ones, you can hop on like they only go so far. You can hop on that like a seesaw. It just bounces up and down. And it's also, you can probably imagine, it's a great climbing tree. And there were times during school holidays when that was alive with children climbing and playing at that tree and in that area. And that was all clear down the bottom. So it's just one of those little places that we can no longer get access to. So the proposed Aboriginal freehold along what's called the up road, which is going to be absorbed into the Aboriginal freehold, is what we call the arch tree. And it's one of those favourite spots where we photograph people. We bring visitors over, we get them to stand under the arch. It's a nice little photograph. It's something we will never be able to get to see again once it becomes Aboriginal freehold. No great deal. And alongside that road is a rare site. Every year we'll find one or two of these elegant hyacinth orchids growing leafless with a symbiotic relationship with the humus in the soil. So, as I said, I live on Fraser Island. I'm going to miss all that, and I'm cranky about it. Happy Valley Township. This is the result of their evaluation. The black is a road that they're going to dedicate, which is the only way to get out of the valley for the ambulance, which is based in Happy Valley. Should there be a closure of the road in and out of the beach, which has happened on numerous occasions for various reasons. It floods, it washes away. The blue line is again the Great Walk. The purple area is the Education Department's block of land, their reserve. The council tried to negotiate to get the Education Department to relinquish it and turn it into council land so they could actually have a place to put a waste transfer station. At the moment, they've got it on the land, but that's a deal done between the Happy Valley Community Association and the Education Department. We'll look after your land, we'll look after the weeds, we'll keep it clear and clean, and we'll look after the rubbish dump that's on there. And that's currently the situation, but the Education Department won't budge, they won't give it away. Not that there's going to be a school there because there's nowhere else to expand. And there's not enough people there, and certainly no children to be able to go to school. So what a waste of space, which could be used. The area up the top there, which I think is a pit, I suppose, close enough, that's going to be a precinct for emergency services, and it's being the Queensland Fire and Rescue Service, what it's called these days. They are going to take tenure of that land. The green areas, though, are these reserves, conservation reserves. This one down the bottom there, which will have BAC, the Buxton Aboriginal Corporation tenure, that is actually the esplanade where people used to walk to access the beach. And now they're going to go cap in hand to the BAC and say, can we walk down the beach on the esplanade, please? They're fighting that. In the middle of town, that block there is in the middle of town, very much like the two blocks in Huron, in the middle, between the two valleys. That land they have been looking after for years. Hasn't cost the department anything at all, they've done nothing there themselves, but the locals and a group called FIDO, Fraser Island Defenders Organisation, have been cleaning the weeds up for years. If that's handed over to the Aboriginal community, I think it'll happen. So look, that's a very frustrating situation. Not that it's happened yet. It's frustrating enough that we can't get access in Huron to those areas where I used to walk as a child, where my grandchildren played, where my own children played. I won't be able to take my great-grandchildren there. I took one grandchild there, great-grandchild, but not anymore. I've had a long association with the island. I've lived at Huron for 17 years. My wife and I honeymooned over there. My father went there in 1929. It's just in the family. It's something that's precious, special, and I am cranky about losing the opportunity to be there. So thank you.
Thanks very much, David. And if you now can't see how this could affect large slabs of Queensland, including South East Queensland, perhaps you haven't been listening hard enough, because I think it's quite stark. This can happen down at the Redlands. It is happening in the Redlands. It can happen on the Sunshine Coast now. So that community, I don't know how many people on the Sunshine Coast now, 500, 800,000 people. If they think that their reserves, their access, the places they've enjoyed aren't under threat, think again. What we're going to do now, ladies and gentlemen, is have a bit of a panel. This is an opportunity for you to ask questions or make points to the three gentlemen, if I can ask them to come back up here. So over to you. Who wants to get the ball rolling?